Okay, all. I just want to say that we have a pretty potent week this week. We have a eclipse to start off our eclipse season happening on April 30th. It is in the sign of Taurus, and I will get to that here in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and just jump right in. And I, of course, as always, wrote down notes so that way we are able to stay on track, man. I'm going out of town tomorrow, so that's why I put this off until today, Tuesday, but I'm still going to go over some stuff from yesterday because it's important. It will still be felt. And it's worth mentioning because it's kind of setting up shop for the energetics for the eclipse that's going to happen on the 30th. So before I begin, I want to talk a little bit about eclipses, just so you can keep this in mind as I'm relaying this information to you. First of all, anytime we have an eclipse, it's going to be happening pretty close. Either the sun and the moon are going to be conjuncting one of the nodes that's transiting, and it can be a few degrees out, and that will indicate a partial eclipse, which is what we're having on the 30th, is a partial solar eclipse. Or it can be an opposition of the moon and the sun happening on the transiting nodes as well, which on May 15th, we're going to get a second eclipse, and it's going to be a total lunar eclipse happening on May 15th, and it'll be in the opposite sign of Taurus, so in the sign of Scorpio. So as we get closer and we approach that date, I'll talk even more about that and those energetics. But for now, we are going to stick to the Taurian energetics. And I think it's really important for me to note, and this is a generalization, because it's the archetype of this is so much deeper than what I'm going to talk about, but to hold space so everyone can kind of understand where all of this is going, let's talk about the archetype of Taurus. The archetype of Taurus is about survival. It's self-preservation a lot of times. It is Gaia, so it's earth. It's being grounded, it's being rooted, it's being self-contained. It is our personal values. It is our relationship with self, as opposed to Libra, which is the co-ruler of Venus, which is really about our relationship with others. So Taurus is about being able to listen to ourselves, listen to what our higher self is trying to ask of ourselves. It is about the materials that we have for our disposal to be able to use, or not even at our disposal, just there are the gifts that each one of us have that are meant to be used and to share and to be given as a way to survive. It can also mean procreation, because in order for the species to survive, we have to procreate. So these are kind of all themes of Taurus. And there are more nuances, but to keep it to where we can all understand, I wanted to give that as a base. So I'm going to talk actually a little bit about this week, and then whenever we get to the 29th, I'm going to share my screen. So on the 25th, which was Monday, yesterday, we have a south node in Scorpio, and it is trining our Venus, Neptune, and Jupiter all in Pisces. And then that sextiles the north node in Taurus, which is where the eclipse is happening. In conjunct the North Node that day is Mercury in Taurus. And so this is really the energetics that are asking for us to get to the bottom of how we are valuing ourselves and how we are internalizing our reality as a way to reflect that. So lots of my clients have been asking themselves, you know, or asking me, like, what's my purpose? I'm trying to understand who I am. I don't feel like I necessarily fit in with the people whom I'm around or the job that I've chosen to perform right now or the career. And it's because I'm having a lot of clients who feel like they have different values. And a lot of this is because there are a lot of people who are realizing that just because we are told that if you do X, Y, and Z, you're going to be happy. So people will model their value system around what society is telling them that they should value it. And so there's an abundance of people right now where things are coming up for them. And this definitely has to do with all of these energies. So this is setting up shop for this week going into the eclipse. So now I'm going to share this and show you guys. Is this sharing? There we go. So this is Monday, and what I was talking about is Venus, Neptune, Jupiter are all trining the South Node, and then they're sextiling this North Node. Now we're going to move to the 27th. We have a Venus and a Neptune conjunction. And so this is where the content of what it is we've been dreaming about or fantasizing about that has to deal with our goals and the way that we want to shape our future are coming about. And some of these can be really idealistic in nature. Some of these can be a little delusive in nature. And then some of these can be, if they're aligned with your authentic values, your authentic self, these are going to be very much the seeds that will help later on during this journey of evolution for many of us who are really wanting to step into our sovereignty, to be our own authentic person, to be ourselves, to be whom it is that we want to be in this world that we find ourselves in. Also, it's really interesting that if we're talking about values and we're talking about the dreams that we're having, like, man, I'm stuck in this job and I want to be an astrologer, or I want to be a holistic health practitioner, or I want to join a band, I want to create music, any of these types of things. It's really interesting that as these dreams are coming up for all of us, and a lot of us, we've already been thinking about them, we have this really potent energy with the moon moving into Aries, and it's at 0 degrees. So anytime that a planet is, or a luminary like this is at 0 degrees of any sign, and it's really where the energetics of that are like punched up because it's in its most purest form. And so with Aries, this is really about having a drive, having the ambition to go after things. It's really instinctual. It's tapping into our instincts and knowing how to respond instead of react. And so if we're dreaming and we're coming up and we see this vision, this very Piscean, thing that's happening to a lot of us, this moon is really helping us create that identity that we want, this new identity of this is who I am. Then I want you to look at this. Pluto is stationing, okay? That's what this S means. That means it's coming to a standstill in the sky. This is happening the day before the eclipse happens. As any of you know who I've taught or who've been listening to my videos or clients that have seen me, I always start with Pluto in someone's chart or in any chart. And it is because that is our soul. That is where we have been. It's showing us where we're wanting to go, what we're trying to actualize, what we're trying to do. And so if we see that all of a sudden Pluto is at a standstill and it's stationing, it's kind of like this pause. And what happens is, I'm going to show you. All of a sudden, Pluto is going to go retrograde in just a moment. I can get to it. Oh, nope, it's going retrograde on the 30th for us in Oklahoma. There we go. There it is. So almost at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right before this eclipse happens on the 30th, Pluto goes retrograde. Anytime that Pluto goes retrograde, this is where we really get to go back and really revisit the things that we might have been resisting or struggling with. So that way now we can really integrate. It's a period of learning and seeing the kinks that we need to work out in life that maybe we thought we were further than we thought we were. Or maybe we knew that there was some work needed to be done. And so Pluto goes retrograde for about 6 months out of every year. So you see it in half the population's chart, which means a totally another thing in someone else's chart. But in this situation, this is really potent and powerful that this is happening right before this eclipse takes place. So this is really signaling to the resistance or the release of something that has been occurring in all of us on a collective level and on a personal level. So then we get to the eclipse, which is about an hour later. And it's happening right here with the moon and the sun. So I'm going to quit sharing and I'm just going to talk a little bit about this. Before I quit sharing, I pointed out these two luminaries. It is 12 degrees away from the North Node. This eclipse is happening in Taurus. Because it's 12 degrees out, this is signaling that this is a partial eclipse. I talked about this a little bit last week. This is a partial solar eclipse happening on a new moon, and it's applying, meaning moving towards Uranus. And Uranus is in this balsamic phase with the sun and the moon. And so this is very much about rebelling and also starting a new cycle, reinventing oneself. And that has to deal with all of the values that we have been figuring out about ourselves. Like, no, that's your value. This is my value. This is who I am. I'm going to be myself. This is about liberating from the past, holding on to values that maybe we have been disillusioned and thought were ours because we've just been conditioned to think that way. And this is really signaling to step into your own power and to be your authentic self, to be whom you are in the world, even if it's weird, even if it appears to be weird to others. That's all relative. It's really about stepping into one's own power. So I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to talk a little bit about all of this. I also wanted to point out on this day, and I'm going to talk about this as well. On this day, you have Venus and Jupiter are now conjunct. And Venus is the ruler of this eclipse, okay? Because Venus is the ruler of Taurus. So I'm going to stop this and I'm going to talk about all of this. So I have like a cold, not a cold, but allergies. So I'm a little breathy. All right. So anytime that an eclipse happens, okay, it amps up the energies of the new or the full moon. The new moon is about new cycles, which really just reflects back to this new cycle that's wanting to start. And this comes after the full moon that we just had, and it's really signaling the ending of a previous cycle. There can feel with this eclipse energy, because this is happening and it's an eclipse and it's happening on the new moon, it's even more punched up energy, okay? So a lot of times this will have events that occur in the collective around the world or in our own lives individually, where we're letting go of something or something new is happening. It really signifies events. A lot of times when we see eclipses happening, there can be natural disasters, or there can be things like pandemics starting, or 18 years ago, whenever this eclipse was happening, then because eclipses have an 18-year cycle, because the nodes have an 18-year cycle, okay? The last time that this particular eclipse was happening, there were a bunch of, I can't think of it right now, but you can go back to 2004. There were a bunch of European countries that joined the UN. And it's also when I believe Vladimir Putin went into power. I could be wrong, but so these are kind of like, we see that these events are repeating themes right now. I believe Vladimir Putin is saying that if certain people join NATO, that he will start a nuclear war. So this is all kind of eclipse type things. We also see a lot of times natural disasters occur, especially whenever these eclipses are hitting a certain area's nodes or aspecting them. So for those of us who live in Oklahoma, I just want us to be really weather aware. This kind of punches up that energy, okay? And I wanted to talk about what all of this is really signaling for us on a personal level. So with this eclipse happening in the sign of Taurus, I kind of already explained some of the archetypes of the sign of Taurus, but this will be felt in some way for a lot of us. And it is about releasing a lot of emotional content. So a lot of us are going to feel like we want to start the new, but we also feel the drive to want to go back to how it used to be, how things used to be. It was so much better when things were the way that they were. We can see this on a collective level with the pandemic. People still talk about this. And this eclipse is really showing that that's really not the way to go. We can revisit the past on a psychological way, which I think a lot of us are. I feel like a lot of us, I've had so many clients and friends come to me and talking about things, even me personally, things that I felt that I had gotten over, that my clients had gotten over, that they had moved past. are now creeping up back into their consciousness. And there are these feelings of, I was feeling really happy, and all of a sudden I'm feeling like my anger again, or I'm feeling really hurt, or I'm feeling abandoned, or I'm feeling really sad and upset whenever I think about these things. And I really, really felt like I was over them. This is that moon and sun that are conjunct applying to this Uranus that is in a balsamic phase to it. It's really signaling that there is some tenderness here. There's a wound that needs to be revisited, so that way closure can really begin to deepen and able to move forward. This is also about signaling the things that we've been hoping, dreaming, and envisioning, so that they can, if they're aligned with our values and who we naturally are, instead of the conditioned versus the conditioned us, then we can start to move forward. We can feel empowered and step into our sovereignty and to be whom it is that we want to be in this world. This is a really powerful time for us to close one thing and start anew. And everyone is going to be feeling this in their own way. Just simply look at your chart, pull it up. I prefer to use the house system of Porphyry. That's what I tell my clients and my students to look at. So if you go to like astro.com, or you have a app, look at the 10 to 22 degrees in Taurus and see where this falls in your chart and see what this means for you. So this will show this area in your life where this will be happening. For me, this is happening in my 12th house. So I can tell you that I've been thinking a lot about, well, I've been thinking a lot of dissolving the past, these values that I think that I've acquired from, my family, my ancestors, that I've been holding on to for a very long time, and that it just doesn't fit with who I am. And there has been at sometimes feelings of shame about this, because we're feeling like an outsider because I think or I feel differently than a lot of the people around me, especially those who've raised me. And it really signifies the liberation that has been occurring and that continues to occur for me whenever I step into my sovereignty and I own who I am on an individual level. And for me, the 12th house part of that is it's helping me spiritualize. And I'm stepping into this world and wanting to integrate myself. So that's me with the 12th house, and that's with the conglomerate of my natal chart. So this is just a way where you can see how these events will be powerful for you. It's also, for me, I love teaching astrology. I feel like it's a language of creatress. And so I just want to help people. And so I have been like formulating all of these different classes that I'm going to start doing and offering to people for like $35 per class. That's like 2 hours, and like making it really inclusive, and where people are able to participate, and that it's affordable. And I can still survive, right? That Taurus thing where I can still make a living. But so that was like me crunching numbers, because Taurus is it's monetary things, right? So I was crunching numbers. What is the absolute minimum amount that I can do this where I can survive, but I can reach more people and help them? That's a very 12th house thing. So it will show up differently for everyone, but I want you to look at that. And if you want to look at your chart sometime, you can always book a session, or you and your friends can get together and talk about it. I'm just excited whenever anybody is interested in astrology and where these things take place. So there are a lot of, like I said, the energetics of releasing and liberating things from your past. So the things that you've been revisiting, maybe that you've been, ooh, I'm still angry about this, or ooh, I feel I still feel this way about this. I thought that I was over it. This is a time where you can really take leaps and bounds as to remedying and healing this. And to get into the emotions of this, I tell my clients so much that you cannot evolve through the mind. You can't evolve through analyzing. I know, I've tried. I was in therapy for so long, and I love it. I have a packed 8th house. I love therapy. That's probably why I counsel people now. I worked in the mental health field, but to some point, I was doing a really detached thing where I was like, okay, I know why I'm the way that I am. I know why this occurred, and connecting dots, but I was using it as a way to still detach from it and to not feel from it. This is a time where if you've been doing that, if you've been that person who's analyzed and actually knows like, well, this is why this occurred, just be really not weary, but be very conscious. And I'm speaking on this because I've seen this with so many of my clients and friends. So it's not just me, it's collectively. There have been so many people who feel really dissonant about some of this stuff. And that is because Saturn in Aquarius is still squaring the nodes. This is a time where skip steps, this is considered a skip step. So this is really about releasing that content, but you've got to, I always tell people, you got to feel it to heal it. Like, so this is a really beautiful time where you actually can go into these deep feelings of woundedness, of where you feel like you didn't get your needs met. You didn't know how to shape your values. You might have been disillusioned and bought into society's values. And this is a time now to recover your sovereignty. Who am I? What do I need to shed that is not mine, that I have been carrying around? Whether it be psychological content, shame, judgment, other people's values that I'm trying to make myself fit into. This is a time to understand how that has emotionally affected you and where it is the release point in your life, where you need to release that. So that way you can live in the here and now and feel at peace and to continue on with your hopes and your dreams. Okay. This is really about, that sense of wanting to change by going back to the past, as I kind of said already. Like, people have been talking about how, when are we going to go back to how it was before COVID happened? Or when are things just going to feel like how they used to feel? They're not going to, because they're not supposed to. This is a time, it is a renaissance period in all of our lives. It is a renaissance period in the collective. There's so much Uranian energy and Aquarian energy that is signaling for the collective conscious to change. And it all starts with you. And so whatever it is that you need to align yourself with, this is really signaling for you to be able to release the past. That way you can start to move forward. This is about self-reliance and self-love more than anything. So Saturn is conjunct Vesta, and this is asking for us to take charge of our lives. And where do we decide to devote ourselves in this arena? Where can we look at the past with a different set of eyes now and kind of understand the teaching that might have occurred, even if it was a painful one? And how can we now implement what we've learned into the here and now, and how to set a new tone for the future? This is what this eclipse is all about. It is really about just releasing these past things that are coming up for you. That way you can step into your power and to live in your sovereignty. This is who I am. This is who I want to be. This is how I want to shine. And to know that you have permission to do these things. What's holding you back? Is it because you want to go back to the past because that is reminiscent and it's familiar? Are you afraid to step into yourself? Are you afraid to look at who you are as a person? Are you scared of what that content is because maybe you've been conditioned to hide it? Maybe you've been someone who's been put into hiding, where people want to hide you. Now is the time to come out, to not be a hermit, which is a very Taurian archetype, by the way. And it is to release anything that is holding you back from being whom it is that you are supposed to be right here and right now. I'm going to reiterate, this is a time where all of us have chosen to be here. And you need to ask yourself, if you haven't, on a soul level, why have you called it in to come and to be incarnated here right now at this time, this place on earth? You have something, all of us do, that we are meant to share, that we are meant to be. We are meant to be, to shine, to be seen, to live as who we naturally are, and to not be apologetic for it. Like, it is okay. Out of this whole eclipse season, I want you to know, whatever wound it is that you guys have been suffering that's coming up from you, there's a lot of stuff, because the opposite of the north node of Taurus is the Scorpio south node. So whatever it is that's been painful, that has been coming up for you, it's maybe this little voice inside of you telling you that you're not good enough, that you can't do something, that you're a fraud. Oh, the list goes on. I just want you to know that you have a right to exist. You have a right to be whom it is that you want to be in this world, and you don't need to apologize for it. And I want you guys to all really step into your own power, into your own sovereignty. I want you to be a warrior in your life. I want you to be a champion for yourself. I want you to know that you can dream of things, and that you can start to put the footwork in to do that, to be who it is that you want to be in this world. And you can start doing it right now. You can start being that person right now. I think a lot of people, I've been seeing this with clients, feel right now that with all of this energy, that they're almost I want to articulate this well before I wrap this up. A lot of people right now are feeling like the struggle is real. That's what comes to mind. Or that they're feeling really disempowered, or maybe ashamed of some of their prior acts. And I just want people to know that as you are figuring out who you are and aligning yourselves with your own values, not mom and dad's, not the friendship group that you find yourself in, not the society that you find yourself in. If these are the cases for you, that it's okay and that you can change. And if you feel ashamed about your past, or that you feel like a fraud, I have a lot of people kind of having this energy, they feel almost fraudulent for wanting to be themselves. That I just want to give whoever it is the permission that whoever you were that you don't want to be anymore, you don't ever have to be that person anymore. And you're not a fraud. It means that you're evolving. Simple as that. You are evolving, and you have the permission to be who it is that you want to be in this world. You have permission to exist in this world. You are deserving. You deserve love, and you have the world to use and the time at your disposal. And so I want you to make it happen. Whatever it is that you want to happen, I want you to make it happen. As long as it's on like the positive, loving, and compassionate side, I am all for it. But you don't need to allow the past to hold you back. You do not have to be that person that you once were. You don't have to stay stuck in that energy. I also want to say, because I live in Oklahoma, that a lot of people are feeling very fraudulent because of the shame that they carry around. these really religious doctrines. And I just want people to know that you are not here to suffer. You don't have to suffer first to get the prize or to feel good. That's not how this works. I want you to know that you are capable more than you think, that you don't have to resist even though you're afraid. And I want you to know more than anything, because I have so many clients coming to me right now that have these religious trauma. And the biggest disservice that religion has done for us, as we're all stepping into learning our own values and relinquishing the past and how it's been controlling us, is that God, source, creator, creatress, however you want to name it, does not judge you. This is a great Jeffrey Wolf Green teaching. It made me cry the first time that I ever heard him say this. He said, God does not judge you by your mistakes. God judges you by your effort. And that means that we're not going to be perfect, that we're gonna mess up, and that you're not going to be judged for that, because the value is in the effort. God, creatress, is going to judge you on your effort that you make. And so whatever voice is telling you that you're not good enough, that you can't do these things, this is the window in your life where you let that go. Do it with a ritual, do it with a prayer, do it with writing things down and tearing them up and then burning them. I don't care, but do it. Because for a lot of people, the past is having a lot of hold on to them right now. And they're feeling a lot of shame about what is coming up for them. And they're feeling like they can't propel into the future or into what they're wanting to do in life because of the shame and the rejection and the abandonment that they've felt from the past. Whether that be from your nuclear family, your friends, your extended family, or the society that you live in, or your religion. Now is the time to step into you and to let go of that emotional content and to feel it. This is great energy for you connecting with something higher than yourself or something larger than yourself, okay? And really allowing yourself to feel the hurt so you can finally let it go. So this is my prayer for all of you guys. On this day, also, Mercury is at 0 degrees in Gemini. This is going to punch up the energy of Gemini, and Mercury is its ruling planet. And so this is really signifying that this is an opportunity to think differently, to have new ideas, to dream big, and to change and rewire the way that you've been thinking and feeling about yourself. And so I just want you guys to know that I love you, and that I want you to be kind to yourself. I want you to feel it to heal it. And I want you all to know that the value is in the effort. As someone with big Virgo and Scorpio energy, I live by this. And I hope you guys have a beautiful eclipse. And I hope that it's really healing for you. And know if something comes up that is a crisis, look at it, face it with the courage, and know that there is something deeper that is wanting to be taught to you in that moment. And that it's an opportunity for you to finally let go of something that maybe you've been holding on for so long because you felt like it was for self-preservation. But in order to really ground yourself in new energy and into your sovereignty, you must relinquish that. And that it will be so magical and so beautiful for you, and that you can be whoever it is that you want to be in this world. So I love you. I hope you guys have a good week. Thank you for dealing with my allergy, head, and spaciness. I love you guys so much. Thank you.